It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 6 movies that make up the Thanksgiving holiday weekend of 2007. These all open up on Wednesday, November 21st, ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. And once again, we have a wide assortment of movies here, from a Disney movie that parodies Disney's animated classics by taking a Disney animated princess and bringing her into the real world. We also have an ensemble holiday comedy in the vein of The Family Stone and more recently Dan in Real Life. Timothy Olyphant takes on the role of Agent 47 in the Hitman movie. We have an ensemble with Robin Williams, Freddie Highmore, Kerry Russell, and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and August Rush. Stephen King's latest book comes to life, The Mist. And many people play Bob Dylan before Timothy Chalamet took the role recently in I'm Not There. So we have a lot of films to get to here. I'm already wasting so much of your time already, so let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. We'll start off, of course, with the biggest new release of the weekend, which was Amy Adams in Disney's Enchanted. God, James Marsden is so funny in this movie. In fact, everybody in here plays their parts very well, for the most part. But we'll eventually get to that later on here. But as you see from the trailer, you have an atypical Disney princess named Giselle, who is exiled from her animated world into the live-action world of New York City. And as you can see, this is both an homage and also a self-parody of Disney's animated features, which makes a lot of numerous references to past works through the combination of live-action filmmaking, traditional animation, and CG, and it even has a couple of notable Disney princesses dispersed throughout the movie. Jodie Benson's in the movie, Paige O'Hara, and of course a future Disney princess in Idina Menzel, who actually becomes a queen later, Queen Elsa, with Frozen. But you also have Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who wrote many Disney songs, so there's a lot of people very familiar with Disney all across the board. In fact, the animation is done by a Disney animator, James Baxter, one of the most prolific Disney animators ever, and just animators of all time, if you've ever seen his work before. And yeah, the movie is doing a very good job of selling you on what the film is. It's a very good self-parody, self-satirical, but a loving homage to the classic Disney animated movies. And, you know, you got a really good cast that's working their butts off here to make it work. I mean, Amy Adams is just pitch perfect as Giselle. She is just such a delight to watch in this movie. Her chemistry with Patrick Dempsey is very good in this movie, too. And like I said, James Marsden is one of the great things about this movie. If it's not Amy Adams breaking out here, James Marsden is absolutely hilarious in this movie. Like, anytime he's on screen, like, he is so uplifting in this movie. And it just shows how much he could have been a really big leading star if they'd given him the right roles to work with here. He was on a good stretch at this point. Like Hairspray, and then this movie, and then he'd be one of the few bright things about 27 Dresses coming up in a couple months. But, you know, everything about this movie really does work. There's a lot about it that works very well. The animation early on is really good to watch. The story is very impressively told. It's a really fun homage to Disney classics. I mean, the music is really good. If there's one thing that this movie has against it that I could honestly say is really the worst thing about it, it's unfortunately Susan Sarandon as the villain. Now, she as the evil queen is perfectly fine. I think she's a serviceable villain in here, but when she turns into the dragon at the end of the movie, they've been setting this up all movie long, that she could turn into a dragon, and she can use that power to take over. And the whole climax of the movie is just this really terrible looking CG dragon in New York City, just doing nothing but spurring out, the typical, cliched riddled lines. And it gets so annoying so fast. And it's just like, man, this movie was working all the way across the board until we got to that point. And at that point, that's when the movie started to lose me a little bit here. And it really could have taken me out of the movie completely. But like I said, it's really something where it almost knocks the movie down a peg for me, but it's good. I'll give it credit that it's not enough to make me completely lose the movie altogether. I still had a really good time watching the film overall. I still think it's a really good film. If the queen character was written better and there was much better lines for her instead of just, typical cliched lines that you expect a villain like her to say, and like a better design in general, then this movie would be one of the pitch perfect movies Disney's ever made. But as it is, it's still a really good movie. It's still a really impressively made film, and it's just a ton of fun all across the board. It's a very good, very smart, very funny homage and satirical comedy centering around the Disney features, that the classic Disney animated films. And it works very well for the most part. If the last 15 minutes of the movie would have been better, this would have been a classic film all across the board. But as it is, it's a really good movie. And yeah, I'll say this: avoid the sequel, because the sequel that came out over 15 years later on Disney Plus was really not that good. But there's one more thing I want to bring up about this movie that I thought was actually kind of humorous. This was a movie that was in development for quite some time, and believe it or not, the original intent of this movie was an R-rated comedy. Like, it was supposed to be originally a racier R-rated movie, and they took it to Touchstone Pictures, and and they decided not to go along with it, and just basically decided to rework the script a little bit more. Probably because they tried to do something similar with Cool World a couple years earlier in the 90s, and that didn't work out so well. That's my only guess that I could think of them not doing it. But imagine how different this movie could have been if it had gone the route of a racier R-rated movie. Like, they said it was supposed to be inspired by the risque comedies of the 80s and 90s, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and American Pie. And that would have been so much more so interesting and so incredible that they had actually gone through with it. But yeah, unfortunately, they did not. But then again, the version we got was pretty good overall. I just thought that was kind of hilarious that they decided to do that at the first point of the movie. But of course, what we got instead was overall a very good film. The ending just needed to be a little bit better. So now, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is This Christmas. So, like I said before, this is very much in the same vein as The Family Stone and Dan in Real Life. It's a movie where you have a family coming back together for the holiday season, and this time you have the Whitfield family, whose eldest has come home for the first time in 4 years. And you have a cast that includes Delroy Lindo, Idris Elba, Loretta Devine, Chris Brown, Columbus Short, Regina King, Keith Robinson, Laz Alonso, Sharon Leal, Lauren London, Mekhi Phifer, Jessica Stoop. I mean, there is a lot of talented people all across the board in this movie. And yeah, like I said before, the movie definitely very much is in the same vein as, The Family Stone, Nothing Like the Holidays. In fact, the trailer literally is the same dialogue from the Family Stone trailer, where there's a part where, the trailer announcer goes, "There's nothing like the holidays to bring the family together." And in this movie, in this trailer, it's literally the same thing. They literally started off with, "There's nothing like the holidays that brings a family together." And yeah, it is literally a been there, done that type of movie before, that we've seen done to death before so many times. This is a film that could easily have been just a generic, bland, in-your-face movie that could have been just so annoying and so not worth it. But it's those performances by these really damn good actors that really elevates this film to a whole nother level and makes it something that's pretty damn watchable and lovable to watch. I mean, I like watching this one a lot every holiday season. It's a movie that just features a lot of actors I really do like, a lot of great underrated actors in here. I mean, a lot of good talent all across the board here. And it's really funny stuff. It's really good. It's a really good mix of comedy and drama, and a lot of great actors all across the board here. A lot of great music in this movie done by Neo. It is Neo. No, it's not Neo. It's Chris Brown. I'm thinking of what was the other? Wasn't there another Christmas movie that Neo was in? I got it confused. I thought Neo was in this film, but no, it's not. It's Chris Brown, and yeah, you see in the movie that the guy's still a pretty damn good singer, and they do a really good job of balancing out the comedy and the drama in here. And as I said before, like, if your movie can work because the performances are really selling it, then the movie can succeed on its own merits, and it definitely does in this case here. The performances in here are really strong all across the board. You really do get attached to every character involved in the movie, and it's very well done. It's a really engaging film that has a lot of things about it that I really do like about it. I like getting to know these characters a lot. I like seeing their trials and tribulations. I like the fact that everybody in here seems like realistic characters in any way, shape, or form, and it really helps when you have a very talented cast that can make this work overall. It's a movie I really do like watching every year. Like, I don't know what it is. It's what these movies in general. It could be like stuff like this, stuff like Nothing Like the Holidays. Every one of these movies is very much the same thing. It's the same formula over and over again. But because they have so many good people involved in the cast that can bring something new to it and do something that's a little bit different from other performances similar to other movies, that's where I think the movie can really shine in general. I think it's a very well-made film. a really good film over across the board. It's not a classic movie by any means necessary, and not really one of the best holiday movies ever, but considering that this is the season that gave us Fred Claus, I would rather take this movie over Fred Claus any day of the week. It's definitely a really good film. If you didn't get to see it this past holiday season, I highly recommend checking it out this holiday season, because it is definitely worth the watch in the end. So that is this Christmas. So let's go ahead and get into the movies that should be nowhere near the holiday season. But somebody at Fox had the bright idea to say, you know what we need to put out on Thanksgiving weekend? A motion picture adaptation of the video game Hitman. I don't know what it is about that particular trailer. I don't know if it's just the fact that they're playing a really damn good rendition of Ave Maria, or the trailer is just edited so well. But that trailer got me hyped up to see this movie in general. I had never heard of Hitman before this. I never played the video games. So I went in there pretty much with lesser expectations from the fans who were going into it because of the video games, because I thought the trailer looked pretty cool. And I saw Timothy Olyphant in Live Free or Die Hard that summer, and I thought the movie was going to be pretty good, and yeah, needless to say, that was not the case. This is around that time when, you have all these video game movies coming out, and you have people who clearly have no intention on following the actual video game and actually telling a story, and instead just basically decide, let's just do Cliff Notes versions and take that out of the video game and put it into this movie, put it into a bland movie in general, because that's exactly what they do here in this movie. And you have Timothy Olyphant, who plays Agent 47, a professional hitman engineered to be an assassin for the organization. He becomes ensnared in a political conspiracy and finds himself pursued by both Interpol and the FSB. You have Dougray Scott and also Olga Kurylenko in the movie as well, in the first of 3 movies back to back, where there's scenes with her where they're clearly looking like they're about to have sex, and this is a woman that clearly has a body that literally looks like she's about to take her clothes off. And with this, Max Payne and Quantum of Solace, for some reason, she does not get naked whatsoever, and it's just like, then what's the point of her being here if she's not? Is she gonna act in the movie? Okay, she does. She's okay in this, I guess, but if there's anybody that actually does a pretty good acting job in here, it is Timothy Olyphant. I think he really is the best thing about the movie in general, because you could tell he loves the video games and he knows how the Agent 47 should be acting in this. Unfortunately, everything else about the movie doesn't work, and it's like I said before, it's just the fact that you have all these people coming together to make a movie based off the video games, and instead of getting people who know the video games and know exactly what they need to do to make this video game adaptation be more similar to the video game, they're just taking little pieces and just adding it into a very generic plot that could be done in any other movie whatsoever, and that really hurts the film in the long run. It's a film that really could have been something really good, but it goes down the same predictable route that most bad video game adaptations go through. And despite Timothy Olyphant trying his best to save the film, it's just not enough to save the film in the end. And there was a reboot that came out not too long after this with Hitman Agent 47. Even that one didn't work very well in general. And there's so much possibility of what a Hitman TV series or a Hitman movie or a TV series can really do in general. But unfortunately, there hasn't been anyone out there that can really get the true potential of what Hitman should be like in a feature film or a television series. Hopefully that day will come sooner rather than later, because there is so much potential with what you can do with this character if you get the right people involved in it. And in this movie, it definitely was not that. Even though, like I said, Timothy Olyphant was the best thing about the movie, the rest of it, not so much. Despite that really promising trailer, it really was just one of the few things that kept the movie from staying relevant in any way, shape, or form, unfortunately. So, a hard skip on Hitman. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is August Rush. And yet we have another one of those give us an Oscar movies, because, yeah, this is a film that is very much your typical Oscar bait movie, where you have a story that involves Freddie Highmore as an 11-year-old musical protege living in an orphanage who runs away to New York City, and he begins to unravel a mystery of who he is, while his mother, played by Kerry Russell, is searching for him, and his father is searching for her, the father played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. The many sounds and rhythms he hears throughout his journey culminate in a major instrumental composition that concludes with the score, August's Rhapsody. And you have Robin Williams, Terrence Howard, and William Sadler involved in this as well. But, yeah, like I said before, this is a film that is something that could have potential to work, but you look at it and you can just see they are trying so hard for that Oscar, man. They are trying to make this an awards contender here, and they're not even trying to hide it in this case. And this is done by the same team that wrote Hook, by the way, which was one of Steven Spielberg's lesser movies, but it's still a really good movie regardless. But it just felt like they really didn't have their hearts in this per se. And it'd be fine if the performances and the music were good, and the music and the performances are just mediocre at best. There's nothing about it that makes me say, this is something that I do want to see on a big screen. And no, this just feels like a TV movie that only got to the big screen because you got so many big prominent names in here, and that's just about it about this movie. There's nothing about it that makes it stand out. It's a very schmaltzy, a very boring, very bland, very generic movie. I didn't like it. Avoid it like the plague. So that's August Rush. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Stephen King's The Mist. From Frank Darabont, the man who gave us the Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Majestic. This is based off of Stephen King's 1980 novella of the same name, where you follow a group of people in the small town of Bridgeton, Maine, because of course this has got to take place in Maine, who become trapped inside a supermarket after a mysterious mist envelops the town, concealing deadly, Lovecraftian creatures. As fear and paranoia spreads, tensions rise among the survivors. And it's mostly a monster movie, but it also explores how ordinary people react under extreme circumstances. And kind of like everyday life in general. I mean, we're going through that right now, where we have something where ordinary people are reacting under extreme circumstances, specifically with, all the tariffs going on right now and the egg prices and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is what we're dealing with right now. And this is something where, you could see where this could work into a relatable thing that would still be relatable even by today's standards. But while all this is going on, we also have a monster movie here. And the monsters are legitimately threatening in this movie, but the real monsters are the people that are inside of this building, of this supermarket, where, all their fears, all their trepidations, all their worries are in this one building. And you have all these different viewpoints coming together here, and it leads into a very engaging and intriguing character developing storyline here. And there is a notable change with the ending of the movie, where even Stephen King supported the way the ending of the movie changes. And considering I had never read the book before and had no idea what the original ending was, when I first saw the movie, I went along with it. And even today, I have no real problems with the ending whatsoever. I think they did a pretty good job of tying this back into the ideals of the original storyline here. I never really ever saw the original ending of the book or read the original ending of the book, so I really don't know for certain how different it is overall, but it really wasn't noticeable to me at any point during this. But overall, I did really enjoy the movie. I thought it was a very impressively put together film with a lot of really good talent. Thomas Jane, Marsha Gay Harden, Andre Braugher, Toby Jones. A lot of really good talent, a lot of intense moments, a lot of tension-filled moments all across the board. And it's a really good film. It's a very entertaining film that I liked a lot. And I really enjoyed it. I really thought it was a very well put together film. I thought it was pretty good. I recommend The Mist. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is a plethora of people playing Bob Dylan in I'm Not There. See, before Timothée Chalamet took on the role recently in A Complete Unknown, you had 5 different actors playing Bob Dylan in the movie. So 6 actors, actually. So, take that, Chalamet. Actually, I heard Chalamet's pretty good in The Complete Unknown. I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately, but I have seen this one here, and it is a very interesting biographical film where it is inspired by the life of music and the music of American singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, where you have 6 different actors putting different versions of Dylan's public personas on these different characters. You have Christian Bale playing one, Cate Blanchett playing a version of him, Marcus Carl Franklin, a young black boy playing him, Richard Gere, Heath Ledger, in what would be his last film before he passed away in January of 2008, and Ben Whishaw, who for a lot of people this was the first time they really realized that this guy could be a really damn good actor, because he would later go on to star in the James Bond movies, and then of course would follow it up with Paddington. And it's a really good concept overall here. And it really does work because it's very interesting seeing all these different unique people playing this persona of Bob Dylan, and they all play their parts very well, and they really do work very well for these with the characters that they have in here. All the actors play their parts very well here. Cate Blanchett really is the big breakout as Bob Dylan in this movie. She's the one that got the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and well deserved, because she was actually pretty damn terrific in this movie. She was very well played in this, and she fit it very well. It fit it to a T. Like, she was really damn good in this movie. This is a really good film, one that did not get the attention that it deserved back then. It was a flop at the box office, even though it was highly praised by critics overall. It was a really good film all across the board. It's a film that definitely deserves a lot more attention, and I think with A Complete Unknown now coming out, and everyone kind of getting a little bit more into Bob Dylan again thanks to that movie, it might be a good time to re-experience this one again. This is a film that actually definitely deserves a lot more appreciation than it deserves, especially now with Complete Unknown coming out. So I do highly recommend checking this one out. I'm Not There. Really damn good movie. Definitely check it out. And so with all that said, we're going to wrap up this edition of Time About the Movies as we wrap up the month of November next time around with 3 movies, as we're coming out after Thanksgiving. So that means the major Hollywood studios really are not going to put out any of the big new releases. But we have 3 notable titles here to take a look at. The first one being Hayden Christensen starring in the thriller Awake. We have Philip Seymour Hoffman and Laura Linney starring in the drama The Savages. And we have The Diving Bell and The Butterfly. So we'll take a look at those 3 movies coming up on tomorrow's show. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification, and the bell button, because you get updates on when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. Now, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.